Welcome to this episode of Play PSVR 2, the podcast. I am reviewing emails because we have gotten blown up. I have emails from Alex's mom. I've got emails from Alex's sister. I've got emails from Alex's auntie. And we've got emails from Hong Kong. That's right. We give a shout out and the people of Hong Kong respond. I love it. Listen, I thank you to those people of Hong Kong for reaching out, for loving us. To let me grab them, James and Wilson. Listen, we need to visit. We need to do a podcast live in Hong Kong. Alex, what do you think of that idea?
Yeah, I'm booking a ticket soon. I'm ready to go over there and accept my award that the Hong Kong, probably the government's going to give me for really putting podcasts on the map in Hong Kong. And Sony's probably going to give me one too for putting PSVR on the map in Hong Kong. I'll give you, part of whatever reward that is. Maybe I'll just bring you a souvenir.
I can't wait. Listen, I love the people of Hong Kong, and I found out the people of Reddit love free games. We had Tentacular. We had a North American code to give away. We asked for your best tentacle-related joke on YouTube, on Twitter, on Reddit. We got a butt ton of responses. Alex, you have picked 5 of the top tentacle jokes in your opinion. You were going to read them to me. I have not heard these, and I'm going to pick which one I like best, and that user is going to win the code. So let's do it right now.
All right. I'm just going to read these. I'll let you know who the winner is, Adam. That way you're not biased.
Wait, what are you talking about who the winner is?
When you pick the winning joke, I'll tell you what the username is. That way
oh,
they know
that's
won.
fair.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
fair.
Okay.
Right. Because, if the user was like, this guy is Will, it may be biased. Yes.
All right. Number 1. How do you know when an octopus has diarrhea? It leaves squid marks.
That's pretty good. Squid.
I don't know if they're listening to
racing stripes. That's what my grandpa used to call them. That's good.
I don't know if they listen to the podcast, but they obviously know our demographic and where we sit with our joke, our maturity level.
That's true. It's true.
This one is I like this one as a clever one. Interviewer asks, "So what makes you think you'd be a good waiter here?" And the octopus responds, "I just really feel like I could bring a lot to the table." Get it? Because they have like 8 arms, so they could bring a lot of stuff to the table as a waiter. Oh, I think that one's good.
Squid marks is better. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, it's classic Adam, yeah. Okay. What do you call a duck with tentacles? A quackin'.
Okay. Squid Adam, marks so far is reigning supreme.
These are dad jokes. It's tentacle jokes. There's not much. This says, okay, anyways. Holding a gun in each tentacle, the octopus glared menacingly at the cat. The feline, however, chuckled and purred. You're one short, pal.
That one's, I like that one. I still think Squid Marks takes it. I think that one's funnier, but the cat one, okay, that's a close second.
Okay. What do you get if you cross my ex-wife with a disabled octopus?
Oh, no. I don't know.
A 5-legged slut.
What? What does that even mean? Does it? Is there a joke there?
Okay, I could be missing the joke, but I just think it's funny that it's supposed to sound like it's a joke with an octopus like pun, but really it's just like calling his ex-wife a disparaging.
So where does the 5 legs? Like if he's disabled,
it's half octopus. I don't
know. I like it. It wins. Oh, that is golden.
All right.
Okay, who wins the code?
I just want. Oh, sorry. Bogey's Game is the username. We'll reach out to you and give you this code. Although I want to say we're risking monetization here. We're probably going to get demonetized for your joke, but
it's not us. It's Bogey's Game.
Bogey's Game is going to get demonetized. Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Dude, Bogey's Game. I hope I hope your wife isn't a slut, but she is. Okay, we skipped right over Gamer Juice. I'm gonna need it from all that laughing right now. I've got from Jungle Gyms Martian poop. Now, it is Marion berry flavored soda, which I didn't know Marion berry was even a thing.
Sure, it's not a typo. It's supposed to be Martian berry. I guess not. Okay, Marion
It's
berry.
definitely Marion berry, yes. So,
Okay.
pure cane sugar.
Does it,
Ooh, ooh.
Adam's about to be eating some Martian poops pretty soon.
It doesn't really make sense because it should be Martian pea, right?
Maybe they poop out liquid. Adam, my question to you is, having had that, if it's good, say you fell in love with a Martian lady, do you have a new fetish to engage in?
Yeah, I would eat it straight from the source.
You'd be replacing your toilet with just like a dish.
Yes, from anus to mouth, direct.
And what if when a Martian ate human poop, they were like, this tastes like a delicious soda?
Let's centipede it up.
Just a whole new version of 69. Anyway, moving on. I've been playing a lot of Song in the Smoke. They have those fruit tonics. So when I was at the store, I got this naked smoothie. It's strawberry banana, which seemed most likely to be like something I would find in the jungle when I'm trying to survive. That's why I have that here. Nothing special. I also got iced coffee. You know how I roll.
Okay, let's see it.
This is nothing special. It's probably the healthiest thing. It tastes like a strawberry banana smoothie. It's probably going to make me sleepy if I drink the whole thing, but that's the rule of gamer juice. So I'll knock it out there at the end.
That's what we got to do. And listen, what we also got to do, we have some more reviews. We are going to talk about Dyschronia Chronos, and we're going to talk about Zenith, the Last City. Alex, tell me what you go ahead. Start it off, man. I want to hear about what you've been playing because aside from playing a little bit of Pavlov with you and playing some Sea Smash, I don't know what you're up to nowadays.
Yeah, you heard it right here, guys. Gaming is in session. We're going to review Dyschronia, Chronos Alternate Chapter 1. So, esteemed court, PSVR 2 is bringing in an era of next-level immersion which provides obvious benefits and avenues of gameplay with enhanced interactions and new mechanics and the like. But what can this new generation of VR do for storytelling itself? Visual novels, once an underwhelming and technically unimpressive genre of games, now has the ability to capitalize on the benefits of this immersion, to make their stories feel less like reading a book and more like experiencing a story. And today our defendant, Dyschronia, Chronos Alternate, Chapter 1, False Awakening, is PSVR 2's first crack at such an attempt. So, bringing to the stand our defendant, Dyschronia, I'm not going to read the whole title again. It's a $19.99 game on the PlayStation Store. We were provided a review copy from the publisher, so thank you very much for that. It's published by Perpetual Games, and I'm going to read all the developer out of here because it's kind of relevant. Developed by My Dearest Inc. and Izanagi Games Incorporated. These are people who made previous games in the PSVR 1. Blanking on the name, but I reviewed them for PSVR 1. They're like the only visual novel VR games out there. But it was also ported for the PSVR 2 by VR Monkey. Make a note of that. We're bringing the defendant to the table with 3 charges. 1 count of animania, 1 count of UI instability, and 1 count of going out on top. So, to discuss the first charge, we're going to discuss the count of animania. Dyschronia, like its predecessors from My Dearest on PSVR 1, succeeds in making you feel like you're living in an anime. The game puts you in the role of protagonist Hal Sion, that's first name, last name, a variant living in a doomed city wherein the inhabitants live asleep in a combined consciousness similar to a metaverse, if you will. Your job is a supervisor, and you go around this metaverse to bring order to the collective consciousness to prevent emotional instability from bleeding into the collective and ruining this neural network. To do that, you must solve a murder that occurs at the beginning of the game by using time travel, memory diving, and a bit of Groundhog Day magic to acquire the evidence. There's even a bit of what seems like cloning and android human replacements going on to round out this meal of sci-fi anime tropes. But somehow, it pulls it off mostly well if you don't dwell on the specifics. Other things that bring you into this anime world is the game has nearly full voice acting in both English and Japanese, and both are done mostly very well. I want to give special props to the main character English voice actor. Didn't catch his name. It was in the credits, so I apologize there. But it's one of the best English voice actings I've heard in this style of game. Usually it's corny. This one's not corny. And I alternated between Japanese and English. The English one was better for technical reasons, but the English voice actor was very convincing, and I enjoyed hearing him throughout the majority of the game. The presentation clearly feels like you're in an anime with the city pop music in the background and the flashy character designs. The title cinematic itself feels like it was pulled straight from a Persona game, which is good, but it's also probably the closest I've ever come to vomiting in VR with its quick cuts and its way too in your face scaling that caused me to struggle to maintain focus amongst the onslaught of colors and flashy character intros. But once that subsides, it calms down into a pace to be expected for a visual novel style game, fortunately. However, it also suffers from, expectedly, anime style writing. So if you're a fan of anime, you expect this. If you're not a fan of anime, it's probably stuff that's going to push you away. It's got dialogue that feels repetitive or over explained at times, and the characters follow mostly along with anime archetypes, which can be a mixed bag. So you have like an annoyingly cute sidekick, which some people love. I hate that crap. But you have the charmingly lackadaisical best friend who, is loyal, but he just isn't really reliable. But it's not quite as abrasive as that kind of stuff that you see in a lot of anime or anime-based video games. So I can take the good and I can kind of leave the bad. But overall, if you're willing to overlook some logical inconsistencies in character behavior and some drawn out, overwrought conversations, there's enough style and sizzle to pull you through a decent story. Because of that, I find Dyschronia on the charge of 1 count of Animania guilty. Adam,
one of the things I love the games that go out and do something different. So I'm glad that anime is a style of a game for right here, one of the launch titles of PSVR 2. I don't really have a cross examination, but I'm glad to hear they certainly ported this. It's on the PSVR 2 library and it's something different that none of the other games are bringing to the market right now. I like that, but I want to hear more. So let's continue.
Yeah. On the second charge, we have UI instability. So for the second charge, I'm going to simply list the issues that popped up in the game that turned a relaxing story-based experience into something that was more frustrating and aggravating. The biggest thing, subtitles regularly get lost behind characters and environments more often than not. So when you're exploring an environment, somebody's saying something to you, that wall of text, the text that you're supposed to be reading, is behind the character that's talking to you, behind the object it's describing, sometimes behind like a computer monitor, so you have no idea what they're saying. This wouldn't be an issue if every single element was voice acted, but it's mostly voice acted. There's some times where they just go, and a piece of text is supposed to pop up. So I see an item here, can't read what they're saying about it, so I have to turn my head away so that the subtitles move in a direction where I can finally see it. Now, if this is a big environment, then I'm not going to be able to read that stuff. That was awful. The pause button is non-existent. So if you want to change options around, change your locomotion, you have to either go into pass-through mode or leave your tracking area so that it causes an error and then you come back and there's a pause menu, or you have to hit the screenshot button and then take a screenshot or go into that screenshot management space and then come back, and then you can adjust options and stuff like that. I tried a million other ways. That's the only way I can reliably make that happen. That's awful UI. Many menus and screens are way too close. So you hit a button to pull up your inventory, it's right in your face, and it's uncomfortable to like reach up between me and the screen to grab that object that I'm trying to grab. And a lot of times these menus would pop up and my hand would be at rest at my side, and because of where my hand is, based with where the VR buttons are, I would accidentally close the menu or confirm some piece of information, and I would entirely miss what was told to me, and I'd be totally lost in the menu and wouldn't know what was going on, which is a huge no-no for a VR visual novel game. And lastly, it was confusing at times when I was supposed to start moving around. There's cutscenes in the game, but it will like have your character blink and you're in an environment and then blink again, and now you can walk around. Sometimes it wouldn't blink again, so I didn't know if I was allowed to walk around or if I'm waiting for a character to slowly mosey their way into my view. But that largely feels like a poorly optimized port in terms of load times. It's a PS5. You can probably load everything up at once and just let it go through it. But it's not all bad. The counseling mode or counseling game is simple. This is where you're going through this environment and you are, interacting with NPCs, and you're playing basically a Simon Says game to get them over the emotional turmoil they're having. It's a nice diversion. But overall, as you're moving around the environment, there's a hybrid mode that you have for movement that you can use that I recommend as you're navigating the space. It has free movement, but also teleportation mixed in, so you can use that. The object interactions as you're solving puzzles and stuff are decent enough, and the puzzles, when they appear, utilize VR well, where you're grabbing things, moving things around, building stuff. So that's pretty good. There's a transition, as I mentioned, it's like a Matrix type thing, metaverse. You can transition between this, I think it's called an active dream, and real reality, but at the click of a button. Mostly seamless, pretty cool to see the world take on a new life form right before your eyes. And oddly enough, there was a stealth mechanic that was introduced at the very beginning of the game, never used at all in the entire game. Kind of confusing. I will say, and this goes into my third chart, the final segment, which is a trial after you've collected the evidence, is spectacular. The interactions in that game, the scene, you're presenting the evidence that you gathered, and the manner in which you do this, I don't want to spoil it, is peak VR entertainment. It was something you can only do in VR, and it just went off beautifully. And I really hope that Chapter 2 of this game has more of this, because it really made me pine for like a Danganronpa VR or Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney VR game. But it feels like a lot of these issues are the fault of the port rather than the game itself, but I am here to review the PSVR 2 version, and for that I must find Dyschronia for the charge of UI instability. Guilty.
So you mentioned sometimes you can't read the subtitles. Is there not an option for all the voice actors just to speak in English?
You can do that, except there's little bits of information where they haven't voice acted. It's like a thought going on in your head. The character's not going to say it, but it'll have the text in front of you. Or some of these minor interactions where a character will just some of these dialogue heavy games, they'll VO the important parts, but then there's parts where there's like, oh, what about? And then it just has a whole paragraph for you to read or something. That stuff is impossible to read. Or if I pick up an object and there's a description for the object, sometimes that'll get lost behind the object, which is, there's even cutscenes where it happens and you can't move your head. It's bewildering.
Oof. Okay. That hurts. On to our final third count.
Yeah, this one's going to be pretty short. The third count, Charge 3, going out on top. The game is about 6 hours long, and it starts to feel stale about 3 or 4 hours into it. You're kind of wondering when it's going to pick up, when things are going to start happening. But the last hour, it really finds its groove, and it ends on a cliffhanger of all things. So you do this last hour, and it's just like, oh, this is good. I'm ready. Let's play this game. And it suddenly, abruptly ends, invites you to get the Chapter 2 as a DLC. The cliffhanger hinges on me caring about a character that's impossible to care about because they're really just introduced right then and there. And as a result, if the second game is more like the first half of the first game and less like the second half where all the cool stuff happens, I'm not sure if I'm interested in a Chapter 2. But for a $20 game, I certainly feel like it's an appropriate length. But I feel no compulsion to revisit it. And while I look forward to seeing how the story plays out, I have concerns about Chapter 2 raising more questions rather than answering the litany of lingering ones that currently exist. But I can't help but say that in the end, I want more. And for that, I find Dyschronia for the charge of going out on top. Guilty.
So I'm curious. I have a lot of background on the game. I understand its strengths and weaknesses. Give me a quick, non-spoiler plot synopsis, because I don't really know what the general theme of the game is, which is going to drive me to purchase it or not.
You are a variant, which is like a mutant. You're this guy that lives in this city. And in this city, there's a real city and a virtual city that all the rest of the people in the city live in. You live inside this dome, and there's some calamity that happened outside that requires people to live in this dome, and you're trying to keep the stability of the environment in here, of the virtual environment in here. A very important person to you, this professor, has been murdered right out of the gate, and this professor is held in high regard by everybody in the city. Murder's not supposed to be possible in this city because of these emotional regulator people. So everybody in the city is getting really disturbed by the fact that there's this murder, and we're starting to see funny stuff happen around the city, and the world's going to crap outside of these walls. So you're trying to do everything you can to solve the murder so you can make everybody feel more comfortable in the city so that the whole emotional neural network doesn't break down and ruin the entire city. Does that make sense?
It does. I like it. Good synopsis. I think the final thing is we need the verdict.
Yeah, final verdict. Dyschronia, for all its style and ambitions, is a game that shows promise in breaking new ground in the VR visual novel space, but it doesn't do enough to solidify my confidence resolutely going forward. As a result, the jury finds Dyschronia as a game worthy of your purchase. Hung! It's a hung jury again, Adam, and I hate to say it. I feel like this game might be better on other consoles, just because, as I mentioned, I know the porting studio behind this, they don't have the best track record, and some of these issues seem like if somebody really put focus into making this a PSVR 2 title and leverage the PSVR 2 technology, you wouldn't have issues like, I don't know if I'm supposed to move around. You wouldn't have issues like the subtitles getting lost behind environments. Everything looks clean and good. It's just, if you're not a visual novel fan, you're not an anime fan, this game's not going to suddenly make you one, right? This isn't the Cowboy Bebop of animes. This is just another anime that you might enjoy that has some cool story stuff happening. I'm excited about Chapter 2. I'm certainly going to play Chapter 2, but it's hard to recommend for people who aren't already kind of interested in this kind of thing.
All right. I'm interested on where we're going to put it on the list of our all-time PSVR 2 titles. So I'm not going to run through our whole list. We're starting to get quite a few down here, though. But Alex, you played the game. I want to know your thinking, and I want to know where you're going to put this, and give us what it's surrounded by, so we have some type of
Yeah.
benchmark.
There's only one game on here that had a hung jury, right? And that was Tentacular.
Correct.
Oh no, Demio was a hung jury, right? Demio had a hung jury, but I I feel like this game could be high on the list if it didn't have these technical issues that really frustrated me. As a result, I think I'm going to put it below Tentacular, above Thumper. This is now the new number 9 game, and Thumper is number 10. So we're going to be putting this down as our number 9 game, Dyschronia, number 9. Let me go ahead and shift this.
There we go.
Here.
Okay, yep. Number 9. There we go.
And that's for chapter 1. We'll be reviewing chapter 2. Maybe things will come around on it.
You never know. You never know. I want to talk about here, Alex. I received, this isn't an official review yet, but I received the Cobra VR gun stock. So it is, well, I can tell, a 3D printed gun stock. You can find it on the Etsy store next week when it depends on how long. Next week or the week after, I'm going to have a full review on the website, on the podcast. So I'll have links there for you too. But Cobra VR, check them out. They have VR accessories across the board. They're starting to come out with some PSVR 2 ones. This gun stock's 3D printed. It uses magnets to connect the stock with your right controller and a magnet with your second left-handed controller. That way, if you need pistols, you can easily break it apart. So I've only used it for one day, but I played Pavlov. I played Cactus Cowboy. First off, Pavlov's, it's a good game, man. It's a good game. I wish we had another. I want some variety. I wish we had another game like it, but is different. I almost wish we didn't have so many games to review, because then you could play after the fall more, convince me to buy it. But if I buy after the fall right now, we have so many games to review, we're not going to be able to play it. But that's a whole other problem. It's worked really well so far. I'll tell you what. You've seen me in action, Alex. I sucked with snipers. Ray Charles has a better chance of hitting the broadside of a barn than I do, and Pavlov with a sniper. This gun stock has helped me tremendously. Unequivocally, I am better now than I was before. There's a little things that, it's not the most comfortable, and like little things you just gotta get used to, but it's not too bad. I so far I'm liking it. Cactus Cowboys, I played it for the first time. It's a free game, PlayStation Store, PSVR 2. It's kind of funny. I know you haven't played this yet, Alex. You told me it was pretty good, and people were pretty favorable on it for a free game. I have not seen that. So the gun stock still works well. So all of this just to say that the gun stock works well. And at some point, I'm going to convince you to get one, Alex, because, we love the aim controller. We no longer have it. The next best thing would be these gun stocks. But Cactus Cowboy, it is, I don't mind the graphic. It's just, it's confusing. The story of, like, they're pretending to be World War II, and the protagonists are cactuses, and then the Axis powers are bugs, which I didn't know bugs went after cactuses anyhow. The gameplay is like too difficult. I don't even know what I'm supposed to do. They just scream, "Get the mortar in the shrimpy." And so I'm putting mortars in the thing. People are shooting me. I don't know what I'm doing. You don't last very long. I don't know. It's not a review of the game. It's not very good, Alex. I don't like it. You lied to me again.
Big surprise. Adam plays a game, doesn't know what to do, doesn't have a good time. This is becoming a theme, Adam.
Yeah, make your games not suck.
It's free. Don't complain about this one.
And I'm even on the easy difficulty. I learned from Demio, and I was like, okay, put me in the easiest level, easiest difficulty, and I still can't do it. I just don't think it's a very good game. I appreciate these developers that are smaller, 1-man, 2-man teams, but Runner was a 3-man team, and look at that game. It's gold. Come on. So
Adam, I got questions about the Cobra VR gun stock if we're not just going to jump into impressions for games. Can I ask about that?
Yeah, go ahead. We're just flying by the seat of our pants here. Hit me up.
Yeah, So it certainly, if the aim controller is 10 out of 10, right? Like we love the aim controller. Let's say aim controller is a 9 out of 10. There's stuff you could probably do to improve it. And if you had a stock in the aim controller, I would have liked it better.
It's a 10 out of 10. But okay, move on.
All right. Aim controller is a 10 out of 10. And then a 0 out of 10 is just two move controllers trying to use that like a rifle. Where does Cobra VR gun stock fall on that scale?
So I've got to use it a bit more with some different games, but the 2 hours I've used it, I would say that's tough. I'd probably give it.
Just initial impressions. This isn't our review score. Initial
Yeah, I
impressions.
know. It's tough too because it functions very well, but where it struggles is comfort. It's
Okay.
not very like it's very rigid. It's 3D printed. So it doesn't feel good. It needs to have like on the butt of the gun or the stock, it needs to have rubber, but it's hard plastic. So it doesn't feel
So
good.
you could put something there maybe, but yeah, you're buying a product, so yeah, I see.
Yeah.
It does it get in the way?
Excuse me?
Does it get in the way of like because you have to break off the one controller sometimes to do one-handed movements? Does it seem like it's going to be a problem if you're having to regularly do one-handed stuff while you have this magnetic gun stock?
It didn't seem that bad actually.
Okay.
When in Pavlov, when I played some gun games and where you get to the pistols, it wasn't that bad. It was much better than I thought. And there were little things like personally, now your controllers are always, when you're using the stock, in the right position to two-hand a weapon.
Yeah.
But when you get a new weapon or you die, you're in the game, your hands are there, but you have to remember to L1 to actually lock your hand to the gun. But because they're automatically there because of the stock, you forget to do that sometimes. So then you shoot and the gun goes flying because you didn't actually lock it down with your second hand. That's not its problem. But there are little things like that that you have to learn on how you use the thing. It also, it just, when I've used it, in Farpoint, I remember the aim controller I brought up, it felt natural and it worked exceedingly well. This, I have to pull up really far. Like it is on essentially my trap, like in your neck, you have your trap
Oh yeah,
muscles.
yeah.
I have to put it there if I'm going to snipe, which isn't a big deal. I can do it, but you don't shoot like that. So I don't know why and why I never had to pull the aim controller that far up. So that's interesting. And again, I still need to test it, but that's not very natural. But the stability it gives you is where, I mean, it's unmatched. Like I said, I can snipe people now, and I never could have with just two controllers. I'm not steady enough in my hands. But now that gives you that stability, whether it's high up on your neck or not, doesn't really matter. It's still stable wherever you put it. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to playing more games. I'm going to play as many games with it as I can. But overall, I think it's pretty favorable. Right now, I'm also a little concerned about the price. It's fairly pricey. So, and I'm cheap. So it's not that it doesn't work well. It's still, is it so good that it's worth $120? Or I forgot what the conversion rate is going to be. But, I don't
It's like
know.
we'll say around $100, but I mean, we're looking at for PSVR 2. That's already an expensive piece of tech, so people who get it seem to have some money to spend. Then compare, if your enthusiasm for shooting games is the same as some people's enthusiasm for racing games, where they'll drop $600 on a racing rig. It kind of makes sense, right? If you're playing Pavlov every single night, people will drop $100 on a special controller to play Call of Duty. So dropping $100 to get like that next level advantage on sniping in something like Pavlov, or get that real immersion in Pavlov for two-handed weapons, and of course other games as well that are coming out. It might be worth it. I'm interested to see your full impressions, but let's yeah, you got anything else you want to say about it?
I right now I think that is what's going to make it a hung jury from my initial impressions. It works really well, and if you want to play Sierra Crossfire, you want to play Firewall Ultra, you want to play After the Fall, you want to play Pavlov, it's definitely worth the investment. If you don't play those games all the time, it's going to be maybe not worth it. But I want to talk about Sea Smash real quick. I played this demo Alex, I is like Rez and Hollow Ball had a baby, and those are good things. If you remember Hollow Ball from PSVR era, I really liked that game. It was really low tech. Seek Smash is just like it. It is futuristic, real fun. There's a fun demo out right now. June 23rd, it comes out officially. So there's some time to work on some patches. We found a little issue with multiplayer, but you as a listener definitely need to play the demo. I clearly like it. Did you enjoy it, Alex? What were your impressions?
Well, my first impression was when we were playing multiplayer. So I'll just dive into the bug we have now. If you're playing multiplayer, whoever's hosting the game has perfect timing on the ball and collisions and things like that. Whoever's not hosting the game, the visitor, there's a stark disconnect between where the ball is and where you need to swing to hit it. And so when we first played, I thought, okay, this game might be fun, but it kind of sucks because I don't think I'm this bad at tennis, but apparently I am because I just can't hit the ball for the life of me. I was missing it everywhere. I could never get a hold of it. But then we swapped roles. I hosted the game and Adam joined me, and I was nailing the ball left and right. I was doing good. I was hitting it when I expected it to, missing it when I expected it to, and it felt really good. So I will say the demo and the multiplayer needs some work. I really hope they can iron out those issues because it is impossible to play.
Yeah, it's unplayable if it comes to market with multiplayer the way it is.
Yeah, but that said, I mean, I need to play through some single player and see how that goes. I wonder what single player would look like, even based on the little we have in the demo. But it feels good. The presentation is phenomenal. I love the opening where you're flying through space. You got the guys dancing when you go out to the arena to play, and it's really good. Like sort of tennis, sort of racquetball. Yeah, there's a lot of promise here. Again, it's just a demo. If they can iron out that multiplayer issue, then it could be a lot of fun to play. We played 3 games and we were tapped. Adam, my arm hurts. If I play this in Drums Rock, I'm going to have the biggest arms known to man. But yeah, it was a really good time. And Adam, I know we played a competition and I have to eat a bean, right?
Well, I think I'm going to let you off on that. I actually, because we found that glitch, because you won the round that you hosted, I won the round I hosted. So I feel like maybe that's not fair. If you want to eat bean, I'll take one. But here's mine. I played more single player. Dude, it's real good. So essentially, you have different panels that pop up. You have to hit the panels like in multiplayer, but then they add little tricks that some of them are closer to you, so the ball ricochets really fast. Then some of the panels move, some of them turn around, some of the like panels you have to hit like over. I mean, it's actually really fun. It doesn't sound like it would be super entertaining and a lot of replay value. I played more of it today. I keep going back and I play 2 games at a time and I love it. So I cannot wait to buy this game. Another thing I did, which is next freaking level, sir. I cleared out a line in my living room. And this is where room scale is so effing clutch because I don't use analog sticks. I actually run back and forth. It is so fun. It is really like I'm playing racquetball. And so, I mean, you couldn't do that with PSVR. I've never had another VR with room scale, so it changes the game. This would be, it's still gonna for me be a day one purchase just because of the demo. Heck, even if the multiplayer doesn't work, I would still buy it. Hopefully, I think they can fix that by June, right? But the one thing that prevents this from being an all-time great compared to just a good game, the mother effing cord. Dang it, Alex. It came to bite me. I told you I didn't want a headset with a cord. I told you I'd sacrifice the graphics. And this is why. Because we have a game that would be literally perfect. I would not be able to make a single, assuming they fix the multiplayer, a single name. I couldn't name a flaw. It would be a perfect game. But you know what? I can't run back and forth all the time because I run over the freaking cord. I smack the cord. The cord is there. I can't back up. I don't want to move too far forward because then I'll hit the fan. If you don't have a cord, you don't have a problem. But they had to have the effing cord. Screw you, Sony. Have 2 versions. Have the freaking PSVR 2 Pro with a cord, and good for you. You can see a little more minuscule amount of detail in Song and Smoke, or have one without effing cord, and you could actually have some effing fun, and it could be a real good experience, and everyone would be a big happy boy. Thanks. F you, Cuck Cerny. You suck. Why? I hate the cord. No VR headsets should have a cord anymore. We're in 2023. We're taking video games and adapting them to HBO series, but we still have a cord on our headsets. Did you have a problem with the cord when you were playing it all? But you weren't running around though. You probably
in all the games I've played, the cord has been a non-issue. Not even once have I had an issue with the cord.
Oh, well, you're used to short things, so yeah, you're just used to it, par for the course. But dude, it kills me.
So, forget the cord. Forget about the cord, Adam. Have you ever played that old school game on like NES and stuff called Arkanoid, where you're a little bar at the bottom and you got to hit the
big time?
Yeah, this sounds like it would be a VR version of Arkanoid and a good implementation of it because it uses 3D, 2D display of these things. I didn't know that that's what that was in the single player. I've only played the multiplayer. That sounds awesome because I love Arkanoid and I love the presentation of Sea Smash. So I'm kind of getting hyped for this because Arkanoid's very addictive. You just burn through that bad boy and have fun. And if it's a little bit of exercise too, then that's not going to hurt.
When we're finished recording, you need to go and it's 10 rounds. It will probably take you 8 minutes to get through the whole practice round. And that's perfect. I play those back to back. And once I start sweating is when I quit just because I don't want to be a sweaty hog with my headset on. It also, not a games problem, the effing headset. So uncomfortable. It is so uncomfortable that I also, I have to crank that, especially when you move. I got to crank that thing down like it's, I don't know, holding down your mom. It's tough. She wants to get out there. I'm trying to what's that word? Retain her. Thank you. You knew what I was saying. Some of the things about the headset I don't like, Alex. The cord needs to go, and somehow they made the most uncomfortable headset on the market, I would imagine. It hurts to play. And I've got multiple people who also agree. You and your freaking big cranium probably don't have an issue with it.
I figured out the issue with the headset for me. I played Dyschronia for hours, doing this with, uninterrupted for hours and hours, and it wasn't really much of an issue. Although I have found that if I don't get it just right on my head, the pain arises of the continuous pull down of my skin on my forehead. I get a little bit of play on the skin of my forehead as it's tugging down. I guess I don't have enough of a Cro-Magnon brow to hold things up with my skull. That's where the pain comes. So if I'm wearing like a beanie or I have some kind of cloth that it can rest on rather than just dragging my skin down, I don't run into an issue. But other than that, the headset seems great. I mean, I even ran into issues playing Dyschronia when I wanted to take a break and get a drink or something like that. I thought, oh, let me just look under the headset, look out of the eyes. But no, the eye blockers are so good, I couldn't find anything unless I took the headset off. So I don't really have much of an issue with the headset. I think it's just a you problem, Adam. You got a pointy head.
Well, screw you, Alex.
Oh, all right. Well, I have some impressions to talk about too, but we can take care of that in the next segment. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to take a break. I need to get some more coffee, and we will see you for segment 2 after the break.
We're back. Play PSVR 2 podcast. That's it. Second segment, episode 113. Let's hit it and quit it. I can't believe that man called his ex-wife a slut. That is gold.
Oh, yeah. It was. I didn't get the joke, and then I got it as I was reading it, and I was like, okay, I understand now. Yeah.
The thing is, if your wife is a slut, you contributed to making her a slut because you also had sex with her, right?
Theoretically, but that's not always necessarily true.
Oh, you mean, I guess you could be married and not have sex? Then what's the point of marriage? Boom roasted. I don't know.
Move on, Adam. You're getting us in hotter water.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, I'm joking. Of course, I'm joking. I love the sanctity of marriage, folks. I just, when what's his name? Blue Balls,
Bogey's Games.
When Bogey's Games talking about sluts, whatever. The thing is, court is in session. Listen, we need to talk about Zenith, the Last City. So this game that first needs to take the stand. And the $30 Tribe VR game is charged with 3 counts: immersive gameplay, 5 counts of broken mechanics, and 2 counts of unwanted company. So I bring into evidence the first combat of Zenith, the last city. And I must admit, Alex, I like it. And one huge reason I like it is because of the room scale. They nailed it with the PSVR 2. This game allowed me to use this feature, the room scale, more than any other game in the PSVR 2 library so far. So I was able to be in my living room and I actually jumped around and dodged and swiped, swung my sword. I was fully immersed. And it was really awesome. The combat was so fun. Now, of course, you don't need to play this way. You can use the analog sticks and kind of stay in one spot, but man, I'm telling you, the immersive experience, it takes more effort. You may be a little less accurate and a little less good at the game because you're actually physically moving, but it takes it to a whole other level, man. So the game also uses the head rumble more than any other game, believe it or not. I could actually feel the head rumble when you're getting hit or when you're running away from danger. And during the game, it was really cool that you can glide. I know both of us played this, Alex, and we were both gliding all over the place. And this was something really neat that I actually felt and a couple of the quests, you have to get really high up into the sky. And when up there, I had like a visceral response because I hate heights. And my body was like, dude, don't do it. Don't do it. And I had to do it. The quest required me to do it. So anyhow, you go full spread eagle and open your arms wide and you just take the dive and you glide. It's really fun. And another example of a really cool way that they created an immersive experience. So I need more sword combat games. That's what this game taught me because it was so fun. I'm really love the combat. Great job by the developers. And when played properly, I think I don't know anyone who wouldn't have a great time playing this combat wise. So, I mean, on combat, I gotta, on the 3 counts of immersive gameplay, I gotta find you Zenith, the Lost City. Guilty. That is it. Alex, do you have a question for me? You've also played this game, so you kind of know what I'm already talking about.
Yeah, so you're the character class that does melee, so you're swinging swords and stuff like that. I played the magician, so you're casting or spellcaster, whatever it is, and you're doing range stuff. So you're casting spells in your hands, throwing like ice balls, summoning like ice shards to fall out of the sky. All that stuff worked really well. It's gesture based, but it actually felt pretty good. Although I did it accidentally a couple times. Your primary weapon when you're that class is like these wrist based laser blasters, which worked really well. They were really fun. And when you're appropriately leveled, it felt really good to walk through an environment and just be blasting guys away with it. So yeah, I thought that was pretty good. In terms of like room scale, I wasn't really about that life. But the gliding did feel really good. My question for you, Adam, there's zip lines in the game. Given your experience with Res, where you had the sex chair that you built, have you thought about maybe putting like a handle in your room somewhere so when you do a zip line, you actually have to grab it and then lift your legs up so that you're hanging in the air with your legs when you do a zip line? Is that going to be your next invention?
I don't think so, especially since some of these zip lines you went against gravity and you were moving up instead of down. But yeah, I don't think so. Tempting, not worth it. Not enough of games have them, and it was a little jank anyhow. Like the tracking wasn't perfect. Your hand was like on the side and it glitched out as you took the handrail. I don't know. But again, I think everything like you mentioned, being the magician is kind of cool. Gunning is probably easier than being a blade master,
sure.
which is probably why you chose it. But I'm telling you what, dude, it was real fun. But we have, unfortunately, on the counts of broken mechanics. And this is where things start to take a turn for the defendant. Multiple times, close to double-digit times, the game has crashed on me. Sometimes my game saved, sometimes it didn't. One time I was playing and I noticed that there's just no more enemies. And I was like, okay, so I just kept doing what I was doing, trying to complete quests. It was all right. I mean, it made it really easy. But then when you got to the point where you completed the quest, or you found the person you needed to talk to, or you found the object you needed to capture to complete the quest, it didn't exist. And then it was just so annoying. I mean, it was all lost time, and you don't know when it's going to happen, right? Then I kind of knew something was going to be a little funky, but I didn't know. After closing and reopening the game, sometimes enemies reappear or don't appear at all. I was completing quests, just like I said, when I was intended to and or attempted to, and it you just couldn't complete them. It wouldn't let you. And then, of course, I found times where I tried to complete a task and then the game just straight up glitched and it crashed, or I literally saw graphics like glitching and then I wasn't able to complete it. And the issue is that not only at that one time, now I wasted my time and it's an annoyance playing the game, but constantly playing the game, I was worried, is it going to glitch and all my progress is lost? That is a horrible feeling when you're playing a game, always being on edge, waiting for it to crash. And worse yet, it often did. So it's not like I thought it was going to crash and I was being nuts. It really has a lot of buggy issues. And that I think is really difficult, especially when it's a multiplayer game. Alex, you and I tried to figure out how to join a party. We couldn't do it. I tried to join party with other headsets, other people, couldn't do it. Just there were connectivity issues and there were bug glitches and it just didn't make sense. And when that is the basis of your game, that is a huge problem. And so because of that, on the counts of broken mechanics, I'm sorry, Zenith Lost City, I find you guilty. Alex, you saw some of the glitches. We saw them live together. Do you?
Yeah, I mean, I try to be. I don't know. I try to be generous with these kind of games, right? It's trying to do something big as like an MMO, right? And they're not Blizzard, so we can't expect surefire things to work like that. But like you, it is frustrating when the core of the game is partying up, and either we just can't figure out how to do it, so they need to better educate us on how to do that, or it just flat out doesn't work. Which for all our trying, it seems like it just flat out didn't work. I can't play with people. I can't play with the people I want to play with. I couldn't play with people that I ran into. And that really sucks because although the gameplay is kind of fun and interesting, really these games have like, B level gameplay, but it's fun and it's elevated to A or S level gameplay because you're playing with your friends, you're doing this stuff, hacking and slashing and looting and stuff with your friends. If you can't do it with your friends, you're not going to do it by yourself because it's not going to be fun.
Yeah. And also, kind of to clarify that Alex and I could be in the same world and see each other be in a PlayStation party, talk to each other, and play that way. But for example, some of the quests require you to be in a party to raid a dungeon. But when you can't party with people, you can't do the quest. So, yeah, really, it's a very big issue. Honestly, probably the biggest one, if I'm being honest. But that brings us to our final charge, and this is of unwanted company. Now, I have to admit right off the bat, but it's not a developer problem. It's not necessarily a game problem, but when I judge whether a game is worthy of you purchasing the game and my enjoyment of it, it has to be a factor. I would say a whopping, and I'm serious, 90% of the people I met on this game were children. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't hate kids. I don't got problem with you people, but I don't want to play games with them. And no, Alex, it's not because I have to sign waivers or constantly tell them that, hey, I'm not allowed within so many feet of you. It's because they're kids. They make me feel weird. Most of the time, they're annoying. And I would say you could just ignore them. But with this being an MMO, like we're saying, with quests, with game engagement, and the objectives that require you to form a party, it's very difficult to ignore them. Also, you can hear them when they're walking around and screaming about someone's dog or how their mom actually made them do their homework and algebra sucks. I mean, it's awful. So it's really not a game that you can play very much by yourself. And I feel bad about holding that against the game, but it truly did make me enjoy the game less. I tried to find times even where I could join when I didn't think as many kids would join, like really late at night, or hoping times when they're in school and there's less people, but maybe they would be adults. It's just it's a child fest. And there needs to be like an adult server if that's something that could happen. Probably not, but I know this is a territory that it just comes up with MMOs for better or worse. But for me personally, it's a major drawback. I think for many adult gamers, which is, I would assume, the majority of the PSVR 2 community, it probably is a drawback as well. So, on the final charge of unwanted company, I have to find you, Zenith, the last city, guilty.
Yeah, it. I had similar issues, right? I mean, part of the issue is like I can hear everybody, and I'm sure you can turn it off, but the interface was kind of difficult to navigate, so I didn't dive into that too much because I was too busy trying to figure out how to join a party with you. um, it, my a quick anecdote of what happened to me when I was trying to navigate the menu for the first time when I was playing the game, figure out how this stuff works. I can turn people off, I can go to another server, or just figure out where my next quest is. I had a guy run up to me and say, "Hey, can you kill this kid? Hey, can you kill this kid?" I say guy. It was a kid came up to say, "Hey, can you kill that kid over there? He's annoying me." And he wouldn't leave me alone. I was in a menu. I couldn't do anything to like interact with him. I didn't want to talk to him. He just kept bothering me. And then the kid that was bothering him came up and started talking to me and him as if they thought I was their best friend suddenly. And I ultimately had to say, "No, I'm not. I'm busy doing something right now." And then the kid ran up. I had a female character. The kid ran up with a sword and said, "Hey, I'm gonna stick this sword in that girl's nutsack," which I just thought was hilarious. I just said, "You're gonna stick a sword in this girl's nutsack." And I said, "Yeah, watch this. I'm gonna stick the sword in her nutsack." And I just thought that was emblematic of the issue. This is like my first time playing the game, and that's what happens to me. And that's why you probably don't want to play with kids because they don't quite get it. And the first kid tried to relate to me. He's like, "Yeah, our generation's really messed up. I mean, I'm part of that generation. They're really messed up." I was like, "Dude, I don't want anybody. I don't want any of you. I want nobody here. I'd rather have a single player game, honestly." I think maybe to fix that they'd have to like age gate it, but I'll digress. Go ahead, Adam, with your final verdict.
Yeah. So Zenith LSC does do many things very well, including, like I said, I love the combat. It's so fun. It's so immersive. However, the noticeable and frequent broken mechanics, the necessary community involvement that you have all these children, I just can't fully endorse the game as a buy. And for some, this would certainly be worth the investment as the entertainment value for heck, the price is off the charts. For this price, you're going to get dozens of hours of gameplay, I would say. But will you enjoy that gameplay is based on you, the person, the gamer. But for the general public, I would honestly say they probably wouldn't. And because of that, the sentence of being a PSVR 2 must play, I find you, Zenith, the last city, not guilty.
It hurts because the game has so much going for it. Like I really want this to be a big game that I could play, but I mean, you're the judge. You're the judge and you're the jury and you're the executioner. And it,
Yeah, it
hope.
has so much potential. And the thing is, I kept going back to it because I did enjoy it. And like I said, I really like the combat, but it's just the other obstacles. Like if it didn't have all the glitches and crashes and load screens, I could maybe fight through that I have to work with a bunch of kids. But then you add those glitches, then you add the bad tutorials, and then you add the children. Like there's just too much of it to say like unequivocally spend $30 on it. Like trust me, you're going to like this for $30. And I feel almost like an ethical responsibility for the general public, like should you buy it or not? And I don't feel like I could say that 100% like we can with Resident Evil 8 or Runner or Drums Rock, something like that. So we still do have to rate it here on our entire scale. I will say I do not believe this is the worst game for PSVR 2. I definitely don't think that. I would probably rate this. I would rate it above Tentacular. So it would be underneath Kayak VR Mirage, but I think it's better than Tentacular. It's more gameplay. It's well, I feel like more immersive, especially when you have that combat and you use the room scale. You're gonna get it has some, I don't know. Obviously, based on your face, I feel like you may disagree with me.
It just feels odd to have a game that is explicitly not recommended be not at the bottom of the list, and none of the other games have been not recommended. I mean, I understand where you're coming from, and yeah, if for
The thing
you,
is, to be fair, if I played Tentacular, I feel like I would have given it a not guilty. I feel like I would have said, no, that's not worth your time. But I didn't. You did. Uh, and I still agree. It's weird that Thumper is technically last on our list, and I loved it. But there's some other factors like you've already played it. It's a shorter game. It really only uses a couple of the new features of the PSVR. It's tough. It really is difficult rating these things.
I'm
I
starting to feel really bad for Tentacular because it's like I think it's better than Zenith for sure. Um, in terms of what it does. But hey, that's the that's the beauty and the badness of this list. And I appreciate that it has these hot takes in it. So I'm not going to fight against you too much.
so do you think it's better than Dyschronia?
It's a tough call because Dyschronia is one of those things. It's like a Marmite taste. You're either going to love it or you're going to hate it, and that's why I gave it the verdict that I did. Zenith. Here's the thing: we're going to have to do like a comeback around, like a circle back at some point and reevaluate some of these games because I feel like Zenith. You know, they're at some point they're going to cut off PSVR one and cut off Quest one functions for it, which I'm hoping opens the door for better stability in the game in the long run, and also just better features and stuff like that in the world. Because I think they have a big patch coming out soon, so maybe if we revisit it, a lot of these things get worked out. You know, I can join a party with you and we play the game, and I don't for some reason there's not as many kids. I don't know. That would make it more enjoyable. Maybe we're just on the wrong server. There's just so much work we would have to do to make this a better game. So
Yeah,
it has a lot of promise.
You
Yeah.
you give a good point. I think what I get wrapped up in is when I'm in the combat, I am having a better time than I would have in Tentacular or
That's fair.
Thumper.
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe you're right. And as a whole, as an MMO, what the vision they're trying to achieve, they technically did not achieve it. So maybe it should be. I think you convinced me. I think it's right. Because it's not like we're looking at the best aspect of every game and rating it on that. We're gonna have to
Yeah.
rate on the game as a whole, right?
Yeah, it's like somebody's walking up and say, "Hey, I want to play MMO on PSVR 2." Are you going to say, "Yeah, play Zenith"? Like if somebody walks up to me and says, "Hey, I want to play like a puzzle, fun block stacking game," say, "Yeah, Tentacular, it's good. Experiment with it. Have a good time." But I'd have a hard time somebody walking up and say, "I want to play an RPG. I want to play with friends. I want to play multiplayer." I'm not going to say Zenith. I'm going to say it. Okay, I couldn't get it to work. I couldn't play with my friends. There you go. So I don't know.
Okay,
Now's your
I
chance,
think
Adam.
I will admit the error of my ways. I see and I agree. I guess put her down there.
Well, at the very bottom. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I mean, it still feels real weird that Thumper is that low. Like Thumper is real good. It's just not that VR immersive. But but we have more to talk about, Alex. Thanks for bumming me out. But the good thing is we have stuff to bring us back up. We got some uppers, and I'm not talking about the drug. I'm talking about Walking Dead Saints and Sinners. I have the game downloaded. I'm ready to play, but I haven't gotten it to it. Alex, you're going to hype me up.
Yeah, this is so Walking Dead Saints and Sinners. It was on PSVR 1, so I paid $10 to get the tourist edition so I could get the free upgrade. Putting aside how difficult that was to implement, they're working on making that easier for people. So don't worry, you'll get your easy pathway to it at some point. But just speaking about the game, I thought it was a great achievement on the PSVR 1. Playing it on PSVR 2 is even more seamless because I'm not struggling with the Move controllers anymore. I'm using these Sense controllers, which track beautifully. But the thing about Walking Dead Saints and Sinners is that it is ground up, just very thoughtful in its implementation of VR. This is really boring sounding, but things like the menus, you pull a journal out of your chest pocket, you open it up, and then you point to what you want to interact with. But instead of expecting you to like actually press it, and it's this weird feeling of like, I don't feel like I'm pressing a piece of paper, you put your finger of what you want to do, and then you press a button, and your finger like moves and presses it, which is just a very subtle thing, but it just is microcosmically explains how they really thought about how this stuff feels in VR, how to use VR and leverage the technology to give you that presence. Other awesome stuff. It never gets old. Stabbing a zombie in the head. There's times where you
Mm.
stab a zombie in the head and it doesn't go all the way in. It doesn't kill him. It's because you didn't put enough force behind the knife. And that, like, walking up to a zombie, grabbing their head with one hand, stabbing them in the brain with the other hand, and then having to fight to get that knife back out, like that's such a good gameplay process. Um, Reloading in the heat of battle. I read one person said that I always thought people were idiots in zombie movies for getting overwhelmed by zombies, but then I played Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, and these slow ass zombies overwhelmed me, and I totally get it now. I had like two zombies coming at me. I had a gun, and I was struggling to shoot them in the head because I was nervous. I was trying to move away. They were getting close to me, clambering around. And then when I was playing through the first mission, I scramble out of a window because I'm getting nervous because it's about to be sunset and the zombies are going to go crazy. And I'm climbing down like a gutter, and then zombies are down at the bottom. And so I'm like leaning down, shooting down at the ground to try to shoot these zombies in the head to get them off me. I'm losing my mind. I jump down. I start struggling with one. Another one comes up, bites my other arm, and then I die. And then the feeling of death was just like, I don't know. When I died, the guy like dove into me, was eating my guts, and then he just stood in front of me and stared at me. And it like made me feel like, oh, now I'm becoming a zombie. It's so good. The presentation is so good. The gameplay feels so good. And I'm so glad that it's on PSVR 2 now so I can use analog sticks to move around instead of this wonky move controller business. It's it's as good as you've heard people say, and oddly enough, it's terrifying for how cartoonish it looked. It's just a that's my impressions. I mean, we'll do a full review at some point. I'm going to play through the game just because it works so well. But man, Adam, you got to get on this as soon as you can. It's just chef's kiss. Mwah.
Yeah, mother's kiss. Mwah. So so you is it like Resident Evil scary? Like when you say scary, you're right. Part of it because of the graphics. Like Resident Evil can trick you into believing you're there, and then you add all the other crap on top of it, and like for a moment you're actually terrified. But this, because of the graphics, I have a hard time feeling you're actually scared, or is it just like that adrenaline where you have to make a split-second decision, these guys are coming up on you, and like that type of scary?
I think it's the second one. So Resident Evil typically is like an atmospheric scare along with some jump scare type stuff. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's a spooky atmosphere. You're in a weird castle and there's gross stuff around and there's spooky things happening. This is more like an adrenaline like survival scare because there is survival elements here. You have like a stamina meter, you have a health meter, you have to like eat food to rebuild your health, not only like your actual health but your maximum health ability, and not your actual stamina but your maximum stealth because that will deteriorate over time. You're working against a clock because you got to get back to your home base before the sun sets because the zombies become overwhelming then. You're managing equipment. You got to like reload your guns. Your weapons will break, stuff like that. But it's not annoying weapon degradation. So the whole like scavenging element, like I'm really trying to piece together my existence, and zombies are popping up at me. And although they're like constantly being generated, it never feels like there's like that's the zombie door over there where the next zombie's gonna walk out of. So you're constantly being surprised by zombies. I'm going through a room. I think it's safe. I hear a noise like a door creak, and it could just be atmospheric sound, but it could also be a zombie just walked in that door and I'm about to get hosed. So I think really the thing is, I thought it was going to be kind of chill, like, oh yeah, I have a gun. How's a zombie going to hurt me? When I heard that bell toll, I was like, I need to get out of this effing house. I need to get back to my bus. I need to get home so I feel safe again. And that adrenaline rush is something that Resident Evil 8 is not going to give you. And it was terrifying and thrilling and exciting. And I can't wait to see more of it. And I also kind of don't want to see more of it.
All right. So, last question I have about this is what is scarier, Walking Dead or Switchback VR?
I want to say this about Switchback VR. I'm glad you brought it up because I forgot. That don't blink thing, they should have just not mentioned it. It would have been a good surprise, but they ruined that in Switchback VR. I got to that don't blink room where they have the mannequins and you blink and they change position, but in that element, you go to this room and it says don't blink. It tells you before you get there, and the mannequins are there and you know exactly what's going to happen. And so I tried to not blink and nothing happened, and it's like suddenly you have to blink to progress through the level. And then you blink and you see the zombies move and you realize like, oh, it's not like a random mannequin is going to come to life. It's I will blink and then it will populate a mannequin in one of three places that I'll have to shoot. So I'm just blinking with my guns held pointing in these directions. And the second I blink and I see that they're there, I just shoot. It was stupid. It felt gamey. It would have been way cooler if they never told you not to blink and the enemies would pop up as you're moving through the coaster and you're incentivized to really don't blink because that's going to populate enemies. Instead, it's like by the end, I was blinking as fast as I can just to get it over with. And the zombie, like the mannequins were repeating motion. It was just, oh, such a broken implementation. Apparently, there's another implementation of it later, but it's not scary at all. It's just frustrating and cheap jump scares, not spooky jump scares. Walking Dead is like, I'm fighting for my life.
Dude, Switchback VR, such a freaking what a disappointment.
Yeah.
So what I hope isn't a disappointment. I don't know if you've seen the Into the Darkness trailer, Alex, that dropped this week. Dude, it looks real cool. Awesome action, pretty dynamic gameplay. I don't know why it shouldn't. It annoys me that it's coming to PC VR first, and then it's gonna go to the PSVR 2 after that. I'm like, and it's gonna be late. They said late 2023 for PC VR, and then they don't give a date for PSVR 2. They just said then they're gonna work on it after that. So I mean, we have a long time to go, which is unfortunate, but that kind of sucks. I would rather it all come out at once. Again, I just feel like we're getting hand-me-down games that they're just going to port, and the best we can hope for is that they actually give it the care and attention and put the features of the PSVR 2 in, but who knows?
Yeah, the trailer looked great. Here's what I really liked about how they did this. They released a trailer, at least they posted on Reddit. And when they posted on Reddit, they were like, also, by the way, this is an AMA. Ask us anything about the game. And the developer was there answering hard-hitting questions about like, why does the game look so broken here? And the developer was like, when I was making this trailer, here's what was happening here. And they explained the stuff you saw. Because like the very beginning of the trailer looks like you kill a bad guy and then you like geometrically glitch through the floor and fall down. He's like, no. I was hanging off of a ledge and there was a bad guy coming up to me. And then when I grabbed the enemy and stabbed the enemy, our combined weight broke the ledge and then we fell down to our death together. And I was like, that's pretty cool that kind of thing could happen. Didn't come across well in the trailer, but that was a cool mechanic that was being implemented. I love sci-fi stuff. I love fighting androids for some reason. And this is like all that stuff combined. I'm not too worried. I have plenty of games to play. If they release it on PCVR first and kind of work out the kinks and then use that time to optimize it for PSVR 2, which it sounds like, I think I read that they're like, yeah, the PSVR 2 version is going to be the version to get because we have eye tracking and stuff like that we can implement. If they maximize that stuff and that extra time that they're given, then yeah, please take as much time as you want. I don't want PSVR with a little bit of headset jiggle or PCVR with a little bit of headset jiggle. I want the PSVR 2 version. So I hope they're taking that to heart and doing that with the time.
Hopefully. I hope you're right. I also kind of funny. So I had a friend, some people come over. One dude was a car guy, one of my buddies, and so I put him in Gran Turismo 7. He definitely thought it was cool. It didn't blow his mind or anything like that, but he was like, yeah, it's cool. And, you know, he did pretty well. He probably races better than I do. But then I put him in Pavlov, and he's never played VR. He really doesn't play video games at all. I forgot that some people get sick. So I put him in gun game. He got maybe he's playing against bots, so it's not real people. He got maybe 20 guns in, and he was like, my stomach doesn't feel great. And I'm like, oh, but he didn't say it concerned. He was just like, I feel something. And I was like, oh, okay. You know, stop if you want, but yeah, keep chugging on. You got like 10 guns to go. So he kept pushing through and all this stuff. He finished the game, but I've never seen this man look so defeated and sick. Like I thought I was like, this dude's gonna barf. He tried to fight it, and then he went in the bathroom and he's like, dude, I'm gonna upchuck. And I was like, it's over. I even turned the volume on the TV way up so that other people didn't hear him barfing because I felt bad. Because you just have the fan in the bathroom.
Yeah.
If you're coughing up a lung, you're gonna be able to hear that crap. But he said he didn't barf. There's no evidence of vomit in the toilet when he left. But you could tell he was like shook and he was sick. Made me feel kind of bad. So PSA, I guess. Some people still get sick. I don't know. Like,
yeah.
Has
a game made you
remotely
sick?
Come close to feeling sick. So I just forget about it. I don't know. It's because we've been playing VR now for what, friggin' 6 years or something like that. Like, and I'm immune to it, or I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just we don't get sick, and some people do. I don't know.
I think the only time I ever got close to being sick was when I was severely sleep deprived and dehydrated, and I played like an intense game, like Firewall or something. And after a while, I was just like, okay, I'm not having it. But I feel bad for people that can't really enjoy it. VR's wonderful, and it sucks if it makes you sick. Supposedly, I mean, I'm sure you had all the comfort options turned off, which doesn't help his case.
Yeah, I thought about that too. Yeah, I turn everything as dramatic as it could be. Vignette off, smooth turning on, all the way sensitive as it could be. Like,
oh yeah.
And he went from Gran Turismo, which that's not going to make you sick, right? You have that point of reference. You're in the car.
Yeah.
And then to the most jumpy, sporadic game I think we have at the moment. So I guess PSA. Quickly, Alex, I do want to cover one thing. This isn't technically a full review. You convinced me to buy Before Your Eyes because it sounds like a wonderful game, an incredible concept. I just have a quick little. I'm not going to spoil anything for you because I want you to play. I know you have it, but we got some time. I want to drop it. It uses eye tracking and the blinking exceedingly well. Where Switchback VR clearly did a bad job, this does a wonderful job.
Did you say the title of the game?
What?
Did you say the title of the game you're talking about? Before Your Eyes is what you're talking about.
What did I say? Yeah, I said that.
Okay, I couldn't recall if you said it or not. Sorry.
Oh, I said it. I said it, big boy. Yeah, anyhow. That was awesome. Like oftentimes when I was in a scene, and they did a good job incentivizing you not wanting to blink because the story is playing out before your eyes. And like you get the main juice of it or the main meat right off the bat, but then there's conversations that continue to follow or events like you may be on the beach with someone and you're like talking and you want to say, okay, well, she just keeps talking. What else is she going to say? So you got to like force yourself to keep your eyes open. But sometimes it's difficult, especially when you play it in one sitting. At some point, your eyes are going to get tired. They do a really good job of incentivizing that. Story was like meh at best. I thought this was going to be something where they like hit you in the heartstrings and you contemplated life and it was going to change the way like you view your life and have like motivate you. No, they chose the most unrelatable person and circumstance possible to do that. Now, maybe that wasn't their vision, but they missed a prime opportunity. They need a Before Your Eyes too, and they need to not be idiots and choose something that would actually relate to people. Horrible decision. It was only 40 minutes, but it's $14. So I guess I can't complain too much about that. It didn't give me the warm and fuzzies. Now, you, Alex, you're probably going to cry. Once you play the remaining 8 games you need to review, is this on your list?
Yeah, I have it. I want to play it so badly, but like you said, I mean, I got other stuff to do. I thought I'd play it before this. Adam, I think you're right. They need to make it Before Your Eyes too. It needs to be about like a single white dude who reviews VR games on a podcast. I think that's what it needs to be about.
Relate to the struggle. That's it. The struggle of man. Well, it's tough trying to hide a relationship with one of your friend's mothers. The stress that provides and gives is immense. But really, like, so not to spoil anything, it's about a kid. I know I can't even say.
Don't say anything.
I can't say anything.
40 minutes.
Well, it's like about the first kid, right?
Yeah, I know. But the first thing you're going to say is probably going to be a spoiler in some aspect. So
exactly. That's why I stopped. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I'm just saying they could have done a lot better job. You're probably still going to cry. I was like, are you effing kidding me? I almost didn't finish it. It was such trash. But, that game, I mean, technically it works, so maybe it needs to be above Zenith, but it's low. It's gonna be a low, boy.
I'll review it. I'll have my own special.
So now it's probably gonna be middle of the pack because I'm gonna say it's last. You're gonna say it's top 3.
It's above RE8 already. It's above RE8 already, just because it evoked this emotion out of you, which is what it's intending to do. This is what it wants to do.
This freaking hell! I hate you. You freaking suck.
I need to just play it so you'll shut up about it. Anyways, yeah, so I think that's about to be. You got any last words, Adam?
I want some more C Smash. I'm going to play Saints and Sinners. I'm going to play some more C Smash. And I need to play Retribution, but I feel like I need to play the first Saints and Sinners first. So
Yeah,
that's what I'm gunning for this week.
Drop the $10, play a Saints and Sinners Chapter 1. That's all you need to. It's a must. But anyways, thank you once again for listening to episode 113 of Play PSVR 2, the podcast. Thank you to Hong Kong for writing to us, but you don't have to be a part of our international march already. You can get in touch with us now if you want to. We'll be there soon, but you can get in touch now. Our email address is contact@playpsvr.com, and you can find us on YouTube. You can watch the real footage. You can actually see what Adam and I look like. On YouTube, our channel is Gaming is in Session, or you can just call Adam directly. His phone number is... As always, we love comments on YouTube. We love emails. We love reviews on iTunes. We love anything to let us get in your ears even more. So you do that.
I do that.
And we'll be here next week with another episode of Play PSVR 2, where virtual reality is our reality.